Welcome back to another video. Today I will be reading from the website reformaustin.org. This was written back in February 14th, 2024 by Jeff Rumer. However, because of the topic, it's very pertinent, especially with the people in charge who think that drag queens are a menace to society, more so than pastors. From Reform Austin, the title reads, "Male pastors from Texas are 8 times, parentheses, at least, end parentheses, more likely to sexually assault minors than drag queens." This has the tag of public safety. Underneath, we have an image of Jamie Ivey, a Texas pastor who, in relatively recent history, last year or so, has been accused of sexual assault. I begin reading. In far-right conservative Christian circles, it's standard to accuse LGBT people of sexually grooming minors simply by existing in the same space. Drag queens and trans people are particularly targeted. There is zero evidence that LGBT people are sexual predators beyond the rate of the general population. One group that does contain a higher percentage of sexual predators than the general population: church leaders. The Catholic Church's problems with sexual abuse of minors is overwhelmingly documented, but Protestant churches are also rife with abuse. A 2018 study published in Religions, linked here, that gathered over 300 cases of child sexual abuse related to congregations found that, quote, the overwhelming majority of offenses were contact offenses that occurred on church premises or at the offender's home, and that most offenders were white male pastors or youth ministers who are approximately 40 years in age, end quote. By contrast, there has been only a single verified instance of a drag queen assaulting a minor in Texas, linked here. A cursory study of headlines regarding child sexual assault cases in Texas since 2021 show that male pastors in the state are at least 8 times more likely than drag queens to offend. The reasons are clear. Church leaders are often imbued with high levels of trust by their communities, and that trust can be abused easily if there is no sufficient oversight. While drag queens and trans people are subject to a high level of scrutiny that makes assaulting children less likely, cis male church leaders enjoy freedom and access to child victims by parents who trust them. This week, Pastor Aaron Ivey of the Austin Stone Church was dismissed from his post, linked here, after sexual texts between him and other men were discovered. One of the people Ivey was texting was an underage boy. A statement from the church's elders said that Ivey had been predatory via text since 2011. In October 2023, Houston pastor Robert L. Carter was arrested for sexually assaulting a child hundreds of times, linked here, starting at age 11. He would sometimes take her to churches where he worked to perform the acts, the charges claim. When his alleged victim was 16, she had a baby fathered by Carter, who then left the child at a fire station. That same month, a youth pastor at Redeemer Midland was arrested for possession of child pornography, linked here. Corey White was caught as part of an investigation into a New York distributor of child pornography, who White had messaged with specific requests. Another pastor, Chad Michael Ryder of Anna, Texas, was sentenced for producing child pornography in 2023, linked here. According to prosecutors, Ryder used his position at his church to film young girls bathing, planning on distributing the material later. In 2022, former College Station pastor Lawrence, quote, Clay, end quote, Hopkins, was arrested for sexually soliciting a minor, linked here. Hopkins was caught thanks to a sting operation. He was an associate pastor at Rolling Brook Fellowship Church in Baytown at the time of his arrest. A youth pastor at Denton Bible Church was convicted of child sexual assault in 2021, linked here. Robert Shiflett abused two 14-year-olds and was sentenced to 25 months. He was released in January 2023 on good behavior. Also in 2021, former Vernon Assembly of God pastor Brian Pounce was convicted of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old, linked here. He was caught in a motel parking lot where he claimed he was being summoned for a child in need. The child in question had been given methamphetamine. Pounce had been abusing his victim for a number of weeks, including at his church. This list could go on, but it's clear that church leaders are too often free to abuse minors thanks to the faith their communities have in them. The sexual grooming of children is rife in religious communities in a way that it isn't in most other institutions. The data suggests that a child is far safer at a drag queen story hour than they are being left with a youth pastor. Here is the religions article that the article referred to regarding child sexual abuse. Keep in mind, this is only in the last 6 to 8 years or so, depending on when they started the study and their analysis. Which means, in study terms, this is relatively recent, which means this is accurate. It's not merely a news article with an outrageous headline to get you upset and outraged. This has facts and data behind it, and they need to be paid attention to. As for the single verified story of a drag queen being a registered child sex offender, well, here is that article. Now, this is not to say that that any person who comes in, whether drag queen or pastor, is automatically innocent or guilty. What should be done is we look at the evidence, see who's more likely to offend, and then make the decision to run background checks and treat everyone with suspicion when they work with children. Now, this guy, he's not a child sex offender, at least not that I know of, and not even alleged. However, he has been alleged to have been making sexually suggestive comments to a previous secretary of his at the Corps, and God only knows if he actually reformed from that or if he's continuing the same behavior at his current church, which conveniently is located in Texas. He also was part of a lawsuit against one of his now former members of the Corps. For more information on that, I will link that video in the description here below. All in all, this article doesn't surprise me. The data analysis doesn't surprise me. And it's more sad to see people on the right trying to ignore this article or to hand wave it away or offer what they think are justifications as to why this is happening. Jesus said, if your own eye causes you to sin, you pluck it out and you cast it into the fire. He was about personal responsibility. Conservative Christians are not about personal responsibility. And definitely not when it comes to children. Thank you for watching/listening, and I will see you in the next video.
Break the hard chains of fate, roads we walk, we create, for our futures are wide and vast. To respect and respond, to add strength to our bond, I can choose to be better.